Naseera Turkey is the CEO and founder of Azzuri Capital, where she offers financial coaching and is passionate, motivated, and determined entrepreneur who has used her knowledge and skills in financial coaching to empower and uplift many women and men. Naseera Turkey is one of the directors and fully fledged independent financial planner with 27 years' experience in the financial industry at Legacy Employee Benefits. A very warm welcome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to Sister Naseera.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Najma, for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, like I said just before we went on air, that I'm very excited about today's topic. Not just because it's you that we're talking about, but of course, your speciality being a financial coach. And I think we've seen more and more. I think a lot of people like yourself have broken the stereotype of thinking that men are mainly dominating the financial fields or professions, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Ask my husband. I take care of
Ah,
his finances.
great. So, you know what I like in the introduction and in the way you had written your brief bio for us to know who you really are and what you represent. I like that you said determined entrepreneur. Can you unpack that for me? Because
I think,
if I may, I think it's just sorry.
no,
Um,
no, it's fine.
when one hears about success and how people actually get there, we hear about discipline, we hear about dedication, and of course that magic word determination. How does it apply to you?
I think the stereotype is the big one. Being a Muslim woman, from a cultural perspective, we have been taught that, men are the main breadwinners and men know more about finances. And I think that's where the determination comes in, is to actually
Mm,
change that stereotype and empower women like myself. I mean, I had to get empowered first so that I can empower other women out there, and that includes men as well.
mhm.
And I think that the determination comes in is one woman at a time. We all
Right,
live by this different psyche. We all have different backgrounds in terms of our culture and the way we are brought up. So it doesn't necessarily mean because I'm a Muslim woman that this only happens to us. That's the one thing that
right.
I've learned through my journey, is that
Oh,
it's
mhm,
across all cultures. And I think we need
right.
to be very conscious of that.
That's a very interesting point. I think we do actually narrow it down, thinking it's just Muslim women that are deprived, in a sense, of the knowledge or not able to control or have control, etc. So I think that's very important to note. And have you noticed this in your 27 years of experience? Has it changed in any way?
It has evolved. I can definitely say that because I myself, I've evolved. So,
Okay.
I've looked at my business and I looked at being a financial planner and how I've changed being a financial planner into a financial coach. Because I think one of the biggest things for me in my industry and when it comes to
Mhm.
finance is your mindset. So, commitment and
Right,
mindset is very, very important. So if you don't have the correct mindset, and that's where the financial coaching comes in, and
right,
that is actually how Azzuri Capital was born. Is to change a person's mindset, to not think as a victim and rather as a
right.
victor.
Excellent. So I was just going to ask that, I think people think that financial planning or financial coaching is necessary only if you have a certain amount of money. In other words, you have to have lots of it, uh, quote unquote. Uh, would you say that it applies to any person that has money, no matter how much? And the planning there is important.
I think, financial coaching, and I think that's where the stereotype again, where I try to break from it, is that as a financial planner, a holistic financial planner, people come to you for a plan and not necessarily that they equipped financially with regards to their budget and savings. And what happens, or what I've noticed over the years, is that
Mhm.
they try to commit to a plan and they almost fail dismally. And then you've got the financial coaching side where you don't have to have any money. You pay for my services, and my services is purely based on me coaching you. So the aim
Okay.
behind it is to groom you to be committed, because once you sign for a plan, you committed because you know why you've signed for the plan. And I think
Right.
that's very, very a conscious thing. So as an
Yeah.
individual, when you look at financial coaching, I look at it completely different. I don't look at it where I've got to now sell you something or you've got to buy into something. I think the only thing that you've got to buy into is your time and commitment
Mm.
to
And when
learning
you
how to strategize, going forward.
right, and when you talk about mindset, what does that mean?
So, we've been brought up. So, and I talk about all cultures. Yeah, I'm not even going to be very specific to say that because I'm Muslim, because I see all different types of individuals. So,
Right.
I think growing up as a young person, we have all been inculcated with different things when it comes to money. So, you could have a parent that had it really, really hard. So he or she has always taught his child, don't waste your money, don't spend your money, hold on to your money. And then you've got other types of families where money was free, so they actually have no conscious hold onto the belief system of what value does money have to them. And then you
Hmm.
have the other, millennial generation where they've got the instant gratification. Their money
Sure.
needs to be used now, today, because they need to
Mm.
see what is their worth and they don't plan for their future. So you've got different types of mindsets that one looks at in different age groups, and with that comes with different family backgrounds. So I think I try to unpack, why don't I commit to a savings, or why haven't I, or why am I overdoing it? So you also have individuals that save, 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 and actually don't live their lives. So I
Sure.
have little pockets for them, so that they could have a little bit of money for their holidays, plan for their retirement, plan for an emergency, but at the same time knowing that they are consciously aware of where their financial plan is and where it's going.
Right. And what have you found most difficult of those to deal with?
I think people not believing that they can do it. Uh, Commitment, where people would say that they're going to commit to X amount for their budget and they get sidetracked, and especially women, unfortunately. And the reason for that is they've got more commitment towards their family lifestyle. So, for example, if the kid needs money for soccer practice, they would rather use the funds for soccer than actually save it for themselves. So, what I tried to unbundle for them is that let's make different little pockets. So, if you want to do something for your child, let's start saving for that. So when the time comes, you actually have access to those funds, but let's be specific to your needs. And I think that's where a little bit of selfishness has to come in as
Mm.
women, that you need to actually place yourself first. You cannot give from an empty cup. You need to fill your cup along the
Right.
way.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that having said that, during the pandemic, I think, finances became one of the most difficult things to manage, apart from the anxieties and, of course, the fear of death, losing a loved one, or actually contracting the disease. But this has had a huge impact. How have you played a part in that during that period and post pandemic as well?
I think if I just speak about my own clients, I think because
Hmm.
I taught a lot of them good financial habits, that they didn't go into financial disarray. They
Okay.
didn't lose their bonds, they didn't lose their cars, their jobs might have changed. Some of them had a reduction in salaries, but because they had savings that they could fall on to give them at least some sort of, a 6 months break, from a financial perspective, that they had that.
Sure.
But on the other token, I've also had individuals where the husband, the main breadwinner, had passed away, and he was not my client, and he didn't have any, a plan in place, and
Mm.
those clients suffered terribly. I mean, I had done many talks during COVID about how important it was to save, how important it was to leave a will behind, how important it was to have that uncomfortable conversation should anything happen to your loved one. And it was
Mm.
very, very, very difficult. It was the most difficult period, I think, in my life as a financial coach, because you're not only
Sure.
dealing with a person that you want to teach them how to learn about money, but they're grieving at the same time. They've got loss.
Sure.
They also have to take on the household. So I've had a lot of women that have never paid the lights and water, that never paid, school fees, that never ran around with the burden of those financial costs. And now all of a
Right.
sudden, the husband's not there and they've got to take on that burden.
Mm, mm. Well, I think then we cannot emphasize enough the importance of financial planning. Hey, whatever the situation, and I think that's where we learn our lessons. in periods like that, and you don't want it to come to that. So, how would you motivate someone who's a bit apprehensive about seeing someone like yourself?
I think the mindset again falls into place is that don't see me as a financial planner. I don't believe I am a financial planner. I see myself as a financial coach because it's about
Right.
coaching you, it's about holding your hand, it's about first making you believe that you can do it. I think that
Hmm.
for me is the key. Once you believe that you've been honest with yourself, you've been transparent with yourself, and
Hmm.
that you can stick to the plan. And coaching is like you would go to a life coach, like you would go to a counselor.
Sure.
You want to unpack all your trauma from your life, divorce, illness. You might have lost a loved one during this period. So look at financial coaching as a means to get you to financial freedom, and that's where the determination comes in from my side. It's like,
Right.
let's grow together, because if we grow together, generally, and I've seen this in the last 27, 28 years, is that clients don't back down because they've been coached. They understand the importance of why they have a plan and why they're spending that money at the end of the day. And they also then teach their children some good financial habits.
Oh, that sounds good. So you are having a generational impact. After the break, we find out more about our very special guest, a little bit about her family life, her background, and how did you actually get to this place in your professional life?
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
South Africa, are you ready? Penny Appeal South Africa is proud to announce, for the first time in South Africa, For Good Tour featuring Saeed, Rehan Karim, Muad and friends coming to your city in November 2022.
I'm grateful for every single thing you've given me.
Cape Town, 19th of November. Johannesburg, 20th of November. Durban, 26th of November. Get your tickets via Quicket while seats are available. Proceeds in aid of Children of the World Project.
Allahumma
Contact 031 1100 573 or email info@pennyappeal.org.za. See you there. For Good Tour, brought to you by Penny Appeal South Africa.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
Our guest Naseera Turkey has also made it onto the cover of UK magazine's 100 Successful Women in Business. So we're going to talk a lot more about that. I'll congratulate you in advance and perhaps congratulate you again when we talk about it. But before the break, excuse me, we spoke, I asked about your background, where you're from, family life, and of course your journey towards where you are today.
So, been in Joburg for a very long time. I think it's my home, but I'm a sunny Durbanite. I'm proud to say that.
Right.
I have two kids. I have two grown-up kids. My kids are all married and out of the house.
Hmm.
So my daughter's just recently actually gotten married. Son's been married for a while. So it's just hubby and I. I don't have emptiness syndrome at all. I'm totally happy with being just him and I and learning to get to know each other all over again.
Yeah,
And I think that for me is important, as you move through the different phases in your life.
true. And I think that keeping busy and having your own passion to follow and being fulfilled by it is one of the reasons you won't have emptiness syndrome. I can
Oh,
vouch for that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because everybody asks me, aren't you like, I
Yeah,
say, oh, I miss my kids. Please don't get me wrong. But,
yeah,
to get on a plane and to go across the world and not have to worry about, picking up from soccer practice and making sure you've got homework to complete. I've done all of that. So
right,
I think it's
right.
very refreshing.
That's great. So your journey towards your professional portfolio now.
So I think, because I've evolved from, just being a financial planner. And I think for me, what was the biggest thing is that I'd actually found a niche in the market where women were not comfortable just talking about their money. They needed more than that. And I started collaborating with different houses, different companies, different women, like-minded, but the element of their business or what they had to offer didn't have a financial element to it. And I
Element
think
to it.
that's where my strength lied, to showcase that we as women, we can do it, we are strong, we are able. We need to have that platform where we find like-minded people and like-minded women to find your individualness and to find your own power. So I talk a lot about fearless women. We need to be
Uh-huh.
fearless women. And I think
Mhm.
that's the key for me, and that has taken my journey to actually get onto this international platform, to be able to showcase that we as women from around the world. I was very proud as a South African to represent my country, and
Mhm.
to actually listen to like-minded women. But I was the only person that came in from the financial space. There were many women from different countries, from Colombo, from Mexico, from the USA, from the UK as well. And every single person had a story, and I have a story. So my story was the reason that actually got me there. And the story was how, as a woman, something really tragically happened to me, and I had to make sure that I had a financial plan. And because that financial plan worked for me, I was able to relate the story and to be able to tell people or tell women out there, you need to take care of yourself. I think that's the key of what got me onto that platform.
Excellent. And it's always those lessons in life that we can, in fact, convert to becoming one of our greatest springboards to success at the time. And I think when you succeed at it when you've experienced it yourself, well, unfortunately or fortunately, but I suppose when you look back on it, you're saying, well, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. And I think the best part is you're able to share those the knowledge now and make sure that no one else goes through whatever you did, whatever that may be, right?
And
And I
it's
think
it's
that's,
also
yeah.
and it's also about speaking from truth. Because I've experienced the trauma, I've experienced the pain, I've experienced the loneliness, I experienced not being able to work for a good couple of months. So, and being an entrepreneur and being a woman, being a mom, being a wife. So all of those caps fitted in. But at the same time, the most important part is that I actually took care of myself. And I think for me, that's the part that stands out the most of the work that I do, is to teach women, to enable women that you need to think about yourself. You need to not look at it as just money. I don't teach money. I teach
Mm,
responsibility to yourself. you owe it to you. Just like how you'd like to have your hair and nails done, or you would
Mm,
like to look pretty when you go to a wedding. Take that same
mm.
conscious belief and put it into your own personal financial plan. Whenever you go on holiday, don't ever go on holiday without making sure that your wool is up to date. That's one of the
Right.
lessons that I learned. So it's not
Okay.
about someone else, it's about my own lesson. So, and I
Right.
think speaking from that truth is highly, highly important.
Mhm. And then I think you've ventured into philanthropy work as well. Tell us about it.
Yes, so during COVID, that also was a lesson, as to how do you give back. And I am one of the board members of the Be Selfless Foundation, and one of the things that we managed to do is successfully raise funds close to a half a million rands worth of oxygen tanks, different levels
Mhm.
for different patients, and we distributed it across the whole of South Africa. And enabling, as part of this, is you need to breathe life. We all needed to breathe, and we all needed to relook at what we had to offer. And I think my journey into the philanthropy was there, but I think COVID just fast forwarded it a hell of a lot more. To use the platform and to connect people that were really, really in need. And we have many more things that's on the pipeline. The other part of the philanthropy is the gender-based violence.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that cannot be exposed because due to the sensitivity and
Sure.
confidentiality of it.
Sure.
But I also work in that space as part of the foundation to give back. So that's my way of giving back, is to empower women that have been through some sort of gender-based violence. And finance plays a huge role because they need to come back into society, and they need
Right.
to come back strong and able. And one of my coaching and one of the platforms that I use as part of being a financial coach is using the gender-based violence space to enable women to be fearless again, and to be able to find the strength to be, I think, not just strong, but to be relatable and to have a voice, but for themselves.
Right. So are you saying that when you empower them, is it through financial independence or are you offering more?
I think it's financial independence, but money is power. To a lot of
Sure.
these women, they have never left that space because money controlled it. So they could never
Right.
afford rent. They could never
Right.
afford paying for school fees, for example. So they kept on, whether it was verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse for that matter. They stayed in those relationships because they didn't have the power of money. And I think one of the things that I teach, I always said in the previous life, I think I should have been a psychologist.
Well,
Because
just exercise it now. It's the here and now,
it's
right?
the here now,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you have to unpack some of the trauma that one deals
Sure.
with. And
Yes.
that
Yes.
trauma doesn't just come with money. It also comes with the person allowing you in their safe space, to be able to talk about
Absolutely.
the fear of money. So I think that for
The
me is a huge,
trust.
huge thing. The trust,
Yes.
the
Yes.
the
Yes.
vulnerability, the transparency of how that
Hmm.
made me feel when I couldn't just pack my bags and leave because
Sure.
I was in control. And I think that's one of the things about money, is about teaching women to control, to control their
Right.
circumstances. It's not about greed. It's not about you better than the other person. I think it's simply about finding your own self-worth.
That sounds very powerful. And do you feel you've achieved that, even if it's in small bits, with the women that you've worked with?
Absolutely. I've got many success stories.
Oh, great.
I've got from the most simplest person, when people say, "Oh, but I don't have money," I can give you stories of a woman that never ever thought that she'd be able to save even 100 rand. And
Okay.
and I can relate it to you. So it was,
Go
I
ahead.
done a talk. I done a talk a couple of years ago for a madrasa,
Mhm.
and the lady says, I just want you to come talk to these abas. They don't earn a lot of money, and but I need to teach them. I see what you do. She's been to a couple of my events, and I would really, really like you to teach these women to find their own financial space, and start saving money, just even if it's just a little bit money. And this woman earned very little money, like, I mean, under 3,000 rands. I mean, that's little.
Mm.
And two or three of those ladies at the end of the event came to me and said to me, "You know what? I really love what you had to say. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm willing to start somewhere." And believe me
Right.
that somewhere, and I'm going to relate a specific woman. So a specific woman had only 50 Rand to invest. And she
Okay.
couldn't do 50 Rand with me. I mean, there's no,
Yeah.
because of the circumstances of the business that I have, 50 Rand is
Mm.
not doable. But
Right.
what I told her is get a little bank account and put that 50 Rand in there every single week, month, whatever it is. When it reaches to a certain level, give me a call. And
Mm.
truth to God, she did. It had reached the
Right.
5,000 Rand mark. She had called me.
Wow.
I'd
Mm.
invested the money. She had done more work. COVID had come in, and COVID gave her the opportunity to now do online madrasa. So her time
Right.
wasn't spent traveling. Her time was spent now being indoors, and she could save that money. So that petrol money, she ended up giving it to me. And believe it or not, from 2018, fast forward to 2022, this woman had saved over 70,000 rands with me.
Fantastic.
Now,
Wow. And it
70,000
can be
rands,
done.
some people may say, fund.
Right.
She believed in her potential. And the moment she
Sure.
saw 2,000 rands, she could say, oh, if I could do 2,000 rand, why can't I do 20,000 rands? And 20,000 rands led to 70,000 rands. And currently she's planning a Umrah trip, which she would have never have thought that she'd be able to do.
Oh,
Paid
wow.
off some debt. But
Mm.
she's now learned the power of money. She's now learned that it's capable. So before she goes out and spends the money, she first thinks, okay, let me give Naseera some, and then I'll spend a little.
Right. So that's such a nice feel good story. And I think the important thing to draw from that is that it can be done. And this goes back to that first question I had, whether you have a certain amount, little if you like, or a lot more, or lots more, it can still be done. There's always some place to start, and this is what you're saying to us. And I think that's important to note, because people who want this kind of guidance or coaching shouldn't feel that they don't have enough to actually be talking to someone like yourself, because I think that big financial word just sometimes might scare people away. And that's why you're saying be fearless, just come, let's do this,
Yeah,
right?
let's talk. We all have to
Yeah.
start somewhere, Najma. I mean, at the end of the day, I started somewhere. You
Yeah.
started somewhere. And we got to
Mm.
also teach our generation, that don't be like me, be better than me. Especially when it comes
Exactly.
to your finances. And I
Right.
think that for me is the ultimate. This is what I love by is teaching people to be financially conscious. I think that's the key, because once you're conscious, you never ever want to go back to the same person. So in the same token of having someone with that kind of story, I also have people that are super wealthy and they spend their money on the most expensive things. So that's discipline. So you have a lot of money, it then goes down to discipline. So I then teach discipline.
Right. Well, let's talk to our guest right after this break.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Did you know a sponsored water well and borehole allows children to go back to school, empowers communities, and is a means of sadaqah jariyah? There are many villages in Africa and Afghanistan that are in need of water wells and boreholes. Sponsor a water well in Africa at 14,500 rands, or a borehole in Africa and Afghanistan at 49,500 rands. Call Africa Muslims Agency on 011 834 8685 or donate at Africa Muslims Agency. Co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Injuran Boys College is an independent boarding and day school situated on the N1 highway in Polokwane in a picture-cure and tranquil farm-style setting. We encourage intellectual and emotional development through a holistic learning environment. We follow the NCS CAPS curriculum and house boys from grade 5 to 11. We also have a boarding facilities. Injuran College is a safe haven and a home away from home. We focus on building morals, ethics, and grooming our boys to become responsible citizens. We offer the opportunity to be awarded 75% sponsorship of boarding fees as well as discounts. It is registered with the Department of Education and Omalusi accredited. Our other schools include girls' boarding school in Zaneni and a boys' school in Palawura. For more information, contact us on 082-491-4043 or 078-452-6264. Follow us on Facebook or email us on polokwane@injurancolleges.co.za.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Devastating floods in Pakistan have washed away villages, claimed the lives of more than 1,000 people, damaged nearly 1 million homes, and left over 33 million people in desperate need of help. As the catastrophe unfolds, Islamic Relief is on the ground, reaching people with life-saving aid. Our team are working tirelessly to deliver food and shelter. Your support is urgently needed now to help save more lives. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Andrew's Worth Najma Kota on Mid Morning Talk. My very special guest in our profile interview this morning is Naseera Turkey, a financial consultant, coach, determined entrepreneur, as well as very successful in everything that she endeavors to do. And I'm hoping that we can draw from her spirit, from her strength, from her energy, and the passion with which she talks about in terms of her career and profession. Now, Naseera, you know, the finances is a very private part of people's lives. And for them to be comfortable with someone like yourself talking about that aspect of their life must be, do you think people are hesitant for that reason? Or are you able to then just talk them into the trust, because there's a lot of trust that's given to someone who's given the permission to look at the finances of an individual?
I think trust is the number one. I think, no person would ever open up to you if they didn't trust you.
Sure.
And I think because I've got years with me, so I think, starting in the industry at a very young age has built my credentials. I think that's
Right.
important. Based on my reputation and my credentials is the reason that my business is where it is today and grows, inshallah. And it's created the platform where, and I think in the older years, or the younger years, we would never do events the way we've been open to events these days, and collaboration. So I think the key is also working with like-minded people. So collaborating and using that platform to inform people. So when I use my voice and when I stand up and when I talk to people, and when I talk at women events, I'm talking to people that I've never ever met before. I'm
Right.
relatable, and in turn, those people that are at those events end up becoming clients or end up coming towards, their vibration is they need. So if they need, someone like myself, then automatically, that relationship starts. But it's also word of mouth. So I would have never have lasted 27 years in the industry had it not been word of mouth. So I am truly grateful for the people that are in my life, my clients, my colleagues, the people that have supported me, and the people that continue to grow my business, because that support is word of mouth. And, it's your years of experience in the industry that gives you that opportunity.
Right. So when one speaks about savings or saving with yourself, in terms of the story you just shared with us, It's not about taking 50 Rand every week or every month and putting it away. How are you growing it for the person in terms of saving and building from there?
I think, well, I'm fortunate that when you see the legacy EB part of it, is that I run a brokerage. So the brokerage means that I am able to look at all the different financial houses across the board that I have available for you. And we normally do a risk profile for each person because no two client is the same. So what you may need in your personal profile is not necessarily what I may need, and also time horizon. So we look at your
Right,
age, we look at your risk factor, we look at your risk appetite, and then we actually design. So for me, it's about holistic financial planning. We design a
right.
plan that is suitable to you. Every single person out there, doesn't matter where you come from, everybody wants to make money, but it just
Sure.
depends on how much you have to invest, what is your
Mm.
time frame, and how I can hold your hand through this process. I think that's the key for me.
Mhm. Well, then you must be very decisive in terms of how to place what money where, in terms of well, I don't know much about this, but the markets, and, we just trust wholeheartedly a person like yourself to say to us, well, this is where it's going to grow and this is where it won't grow. And then you can't predict that either.
I think it's also education. So COVID also taught me a lesson, with my clients, is that keep your clients updated. Don't leave them in darkness. So I think there's no such thing as bad advice or good advice, but as long as you keep your clients informed. So I think for me during COVID was sending out an email to every single client to say the markets are really, really doing bad. Let's not panic, because if we're going to panic, then we make bad decisions. So I don't want you
Yeah.
to panic. At one point during April, May of 2020, the market had lost 43%. We
Wow.
just got wiped out, and it wasn't just South Africa, it was a global thing. So if you
Mm.
panicked as an investor and you pulled out all your money, you would have lost 43% of your investment. So
Right.
my job doesn't end there. It doesn't mean that you take out an investment with me and that's it. You never hear from me
Right.
again. I think to educate my clients is just as important. When you sit down with
Mhm.
me, it's my job to educate you. It's not about you just trusting me. It's about me trusting you with the process that we work together. So I think for me, that's vitally important, is that it's a journey. It's a journey for me to educate you. You need to know because you earn the money at the end of the day. You are trusting me with those funds. You are trusting me with your livelihood. So it's only fair for me to educate you appropriately. I understand I'm not a doctor, so you can't expect me to understand what it is in the medical field. Likewise, if you come into my field, I don't expect you to understand everything, but I can
True.
simplify it. I can educate you in a simple way that if you're going to give me X amount of money, this is the risk that's associated with it. This is the conservative way that we can approach it. I also got to look at your age and the need for those funds. So every
Mhm.
single client is seen to specifically on merit.
Right. So your business then is independent, right? It operates
Exactly.
independently. Right. So, well, I need to understand this because, we find bigger investment companies. I'm not in the position to mention those names,
Yes.
but I'm sure you know what I mean by those financial hubs, if you like,
Yes.
that people would be drawn to immediately to invest with. How does um, Azzuri Investments, challenge that or separate itself from that?
So, Azzuri and Legacy have two arms. So, Azzuri is where the coaching comes in, the financial plan comes in, but the action actually happens at Legacy Financial Services. So,
Okay.
I am affiliated to all those big names that we
Right.
won't mention any names about. I'm affiliated to all of them across the board. So, whatever color you're thinking of, I'm
Mhm.
affiliated to them. But the
Mhm.
difference is that we can look at, or I can look at what is the best plan for you. So there's no competition. So I'm not a tied planner where I only represent one company or one financial
Sure.
house. I represent you as the client. That's the holistic plan that I'm talking about. So as an
Mhm.
individual, you come to me and I draw up a plan with you. And because of the circumstances of being an independent broker, I can choose what is suitable for you, or we can choose it together. And I think that's the
Okay.
key for holistic financial planning. So even though you have the big houses there, we have to be part of the big houses. That's
Sure.
what I do. But the
Right.
key would be is that how can we be cost effective?
Mm.
How can our fees be cost effective? How can we give you great portfolios for the short term, long term, medium term, depends on your need. And the end result is, how do I get the best return? How do I sit down
Right.
with my clients and how do I get the best return for them for the short period of time and for the long period?
And of course, the halal way, right? Because
Sharia.
we've got, yeah, yeah. So we've got lots of Muslims, predominantly Muslim listeners. And I think that's also something they're very particular about, obviously. And you being a Muslim, I'm sure your planning is always focused around the halal issue.
Yeah. So Sharia is
Sharia,
very, very
beg your
close to
pardon.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Sharia is number one. I mean, I got to go 6 feet down. So I'm
Mm.
answerable, for that.
Mm.
I will never take anyone, for granted. And I think for me, the Sharia space has also changed. So we also need to be conscious of that. The old days we went to a specific brand and that's all we knew and that was it. Now things have
Right.
changed. Things have evolved. More and more of those big brand companies are aware of Sharia. I won't name a brand, but I will tell you this much. There's this particular brand that I think as Muslims, we all resonate with it. It's something that we've done from the time that we could remember Sharia investing. But a
Mm.
little information that 15% of this particular brand's portfolio, based on returns and how this fund has performed, actually has 15% of non Muslim investors. And
Wow.
this is
That's
only
interesting.
because the fund has done really well. So you also
Right.
have a conscious decision where non-Muslim people are looking at Sharia funds purely based on the return
The
factor,
growth. Yes.
and yet we
Yeah.
as Muslims, it is in our DNA. That's what we're looking
Right.
for.
Right.
It lets me sleep peacefully at night, knowing that my clients' investments is 100% Sharia, and the platform that they've chosen or I've chosen with them is what gives them,
The
that peace of mind. At
confidence.
the end of the day. Mhm.
Yes. 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 After this break, we talk about the rand currency and its low performance and what would be the alternative. I think one thing comes up in mind, but let's hear from our financial coach, Naseera Turkey, after this break.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
Online schooling? Why not? Kurtuba Online Academy is the leading global online Islamic school from grade R to matric, offering South African caps and international syllabus. And it doesn't stop there. We also offer online madrasa for every grade. For more information, visit www.kurtubaonline.co.za. Kurtuba Online Academy, the leading global online Islamic school.
Decades of war, devastating drought, and economic collapse have pushed the Afghan people to the edge of survival. 24 million need life-saving aid, and 5 million children are knocking on famine's door. The world cannot just watch as this terrible crisis unfolds. With your support, the Al Imdad Foundation is delivering emergency relief to the Afghan people. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
With so many investment options today, it's only natural that you might feel a little confused which route to take. Should I buy shares or should I invest in gold bullion? Randery Jewelers now brings you the Zahab coin, an alternative to the Kruger Rand. The Zahab coin, a solid wealth protector in its purest form of 24-karat gold, is the safest way to protect your wealth. So don't just sit there and watch your paper money depreciate. Change to gold. Call Randery Jewelers now at 031 202 4701 or visit www.rjcoin.co.za, situated at 151 Essenwood Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Over 33 million people have been affected by the devastating floods in Pakistan. Homes have been destroyed, crops have been swept away, and roads have been damaged. Families are mourning their loved ones while trying to survive these horrific conditions. Penny Appeal is on the ground now, delivering food, shelter, medical supplies, and water to those in need. You can help save a life by donating today. Visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
That one of those adverts was definitely not intentionally meant to be related to my question that I asked before the break, but it just so happens. So, Nabila, what can you, sorry, Naseera, what about our paper money and losing its value?
Well, are we live or are we still in the room?
We live, my dear. We're back on it, yes.
So, look, I think South Africa has lots of problems, and we need to be conscious of it. Be it whether it's Eskom, whether it's the water. I personally have stayed without water for 5 days.
Oh my word!
Thank God for gym memberships. So yes, we don't have a lot of positive that's going on, but when you travel abroad, and you see life on the other side, you actually tend to value your country and you value the rand. So as much as it seems doom and gloom, but I think our country has a lot to offer. And from a financial space, private equity, that means the companies that are big in South Africa from a private space, they are doing phenomenal jobs. Otherwise, people like us wouldn't have jobs. We wouldn't be changing lives. And I think for me, that's a big thing. We change lives. We change the narrative, in terms of the financial space. And that's where money plays a huge role. So whether it's your bond going up or the petrol price going up, unfortunately, that paper value has dropped. And, we have to be conscious of it. And as a collective, we need to make sure that we do certain things to change our lifestyles. We cannot be living the same lifestyle. And I think that paper value is here to stay for a little while. That uncomfortableness, waking up in the morning and spending an extra rand on petrol that we don't have, or, the price of diesel going up, and having lights or maybe not having lights, and putting an inverter that you didn't even budget for. So that's all real problems. And I think, if you match the rand, being in the UK now recently, there was actually load shedding.
Yeah.
Yes, there was load shedding. And I thought,
Okay.
this only happens in my country.
Right.
But people were complaining about their economy. The UK is going through the worst that they've ever gone through.
Correct. Yes,
So I
yes.
think as individuals, as South Africans, we need to chin up and not be wasteful. I think that's the key. You need to plan. And I do understand where there is times, and I deal with my clients that are in a situation where they're living hand to mouth. There's absolute truth in that. You are living hand to mouth. You've lost one income, a generated person in your household, and there's only one person that's, surviving or keeping the lights on. And I think as individuals, we need to be very, very conscious that our rand is not at the best place. But you know what? As South Africans, we are very resilient. We're very tough, and we need to steer on.
Well, that's very encouraging, because I think lots of people feel very despondent and want to take the first flight out. And you get people that encourage that actually for future generations. So hearing this, I'm just digressing a little, but hearing this does give us confidence. And I think you've seen the two sides, and I would trust that observation. And I like what you said, chin up. And as I was looking at my list of guests, and so happened, I mentioned the few that we had before you are South African women. They're South African. You are South African, and there's a lot to be proud of there. What you're contributing, what you're giving back, and when we're saying let's build a society together, then this is how we do it. And that's why I like highlighting people like yourself on my program, because we can see what works actually being done. And yes, we may read about you or your success now on making it to the cover of the magazine, that would highlight or give us an opportunity to highlight what it is that Naseera is about. But now that you've exchanged this much and interacted as much as possible in this time with us, we see that there is a difference being made in the various fields. So I think hats off to people like yourself, and keeping everyone else's chin up because yeah.
I must tell you one thing. So, so,
Yes.
so, so sitting there, in the UK, and not knowing, I didn't know I was going to make the cover. To be very honest, there were just
Right.
as dynamic women out there from all over the world. I think each and every one represented our country and our passion and our
Sure.
purpose of what we love. But it was one lady that stood out, and in her presentation, she actually had Nelson Mandela as one of the person that represented, the world. And at the same token, she had the next slide, and that was Desmond Tutu. And I felt I was the only South African sitting amongst all of these people, and those two great men came from my country.
Right.
And that stood out
Right.
for me. That made me feel so proud to be a South African and to
Right.
show the world that, we are resilient and we are tough. We have gone through so much hardship. And I think we need to believe in our communities. We need to also assist our communities. I think that's
Right.
key, and that was very powerful, and then to go up and be a speaker and to speak and to be able to enlighten people about our country,
Yeah.
and all of these people were so excited, and they all had challenges. Each and every one that had come up had spoken some challenge in their own country, things that didn't work, things that did work, but they believed in family, they believed in doing things together. And I think that's what we need to look at, and that's what we need to believe in.
Hmm. So, who has been your greatest influences?
My greatest of all, and I can say this without shedding a tear now, is my mom. My
Ah,
mom was an entrepreneur. She's late. She passed on a couple of years ago. That changed my life drastically. I think Azzuri Capital was born through that pain and sorrow and that hardship that I had to go through, that loneliness. She was a tough woman. I don't think I actually realized how tough she was and what she represented for women until I had lost her. And what she'd actually taught me, the lessons that she'd given me to be the entrepreneur, the businesswoman, to hold so many caps. I mean, as women, we wear many caps, and we don't
true.
give ourselves enough credit, for that. And her coming from a generation where women like her never existed, I think that for me was the key. Is women like her never existed in those years, and she
Right.
was doing all of these remarkable things, standing up for women's right. I'm a feminist all the way.
Mm.
um, and I think Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, she stood for
Yes, of
women
course.
in business, and we are women in
Right.
business.
The first
And
leading woman in business. Yes. Yeah.
exactly, and she was an
Yeah.
independent woman.
Yeah.
So we don't think of history, and I think from an Islamic history, that's
Mm.
also very important. This is an Islamic, we have a lot of Muslim listeners, and
Mm.
and and she stands out for me because simply from a business perspective,
Mm.
because we know the moms. I mean, I've used my mom. We've used women in our community, but her coming from an Islamic, from she's the woman of
Our
Islam,
history. Yes.
our
Yes. Yes.
history. It
Yes.
doesn't matter, from where we come from, but she is the woman. She represents us. And I think
True.
listening to her story and reading her story and relating to her from a business perspective as an entrepreneur, we have it in us. We just need to believe, that we are
True.
capable, and we need to find like-minded women. So I've also come
Yeah.
across where I've also been through the bad. So I've come across some really bad people, and unfortunately that's what makes you who you are. It's part of your
True.
lesson. It's part of
Yeah.
life. It's what
Ye-
strengthens you. It's
Correct.
what grows you as well. You can't have it all good and believe, life is going to be all good out there. So, having to also meet not great people that pretend, we live in this world of pretend. What you see is not what you get, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and as women, we need to be conscious of that. You may be
Mm.
a good soul, you may want to give, and what you see is what I give you, but that doesn't happen all the time. And I learned also some hard lessons along that way. So I think, Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, really is relatable, for us women that are wanting to grow our business, that are wanting to grow into the entrepreneurs or the businesswoman or the corporate woman for that matter. I think as a woman, she also represents a huge part for me.
Right. And lastly, where to from here for you?
Well, like my mom used to say, the world is your oyster, and I never believed it until you fast forward track. And I think for me, it's about changing people's lives. I look at the international platform as a huge opportunity. I would love to go to many more countries and to use this platform, to use my voice, to empower women, to empower the youth, because I think that's vitally important. So, the younger generation, the younger women out there, the younger men out there,
True.
it's not only about women. I don't only empower women. I think it's
Yeah,
if we change the narrative of a young man, he then brings in a new narrative for his generation. And I
that's
think
true.
that's powerful. So for me,
Absolutely.
I think hopefully many more platforms like this internationally, and inshallah, with the grace of Allah, I think more than anything else is changing people's lives.
Inshallah. It's been, like I said, an absolute pleasure to have you on our program this morning. I hope to catch up with you soon and learn from you much, much more. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Jazakallah so much for having me, Najma. It was really, really a pleasure. And thank you to your listeners.
It's a pleasure on our side too. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All right. When we come back, we speak to our very special guest, Nabila Vadvala. She's an advocate for the Sunnah and mental health, qualified in the fields of psychology and nutrition. We talk to her about anger and dealing with anger using Islamic psychology.